Hi there, and welcome. So glad that you're here for this week's live stream. And there's something tender and courageous about showing up for your own healing. And yeah, just glad that you're here. And as we go through our time today, if you have questions, put them in the chat, or if you have questions in between times, go ahead and put those in the chat too. And I'll engage with those in between our sessions, or you can just sit quietly and witness. There's no pressure here, but glad to be with you for another week. If you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Uh, and you'll get updated of new content that I put out. And like this video in particular, it helps YouTube know that we're here and showing up and helps others find this content. You can find more about me. By the way, if you're new, my name is Tim Fortescue. I'm an IFS practitioner. This model has been transformative for me and so many of those that I'm able to walk alongside in my coaching practice. And you can find more about me on my website at exploreifs.com. And while you're there, I encourage you to check out the Faithfully Growing community. It's a space where I hold a weekly drop in on Thursdays, as well as there is a searchable library of content. And every month, I do a parts mapping group to help you know of your parts within. Uh, and I alternate between a parts mapping group and a workshop to help you know more about the model and to take your questions. And so check that out. And there are other resources there too, but you can find the Faithfully Growing community and get more information by checking the top banner on my website. And the biggest thing about that is I try to keep low cost. It's $9 a month for all of that and all of the content that I add to that in the future. So check it out. And if you ever have questions, you can always send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com. And so today, gonna do something just a little bit different than I normally do and walk you through the process that has been helpful for me when I check in with my parts and just try to pause and be aware of what's going on inside. And so let's just take a minute and let's check in. And rather than giving some content and then doing a meditation, I'm going to combine the two today as I walk you through this simple parts check in that's been helpful for me. And it may be helpful for you too. Often people ask, how do I map my parts? And you hear a lot about parts mapping. And this is a simple process that I do. By the way, there are many ways to do it, and you can even tweak what I do here and make it your own. But just a 5 simple steps that I do. And I encourage you, if you have a journal handy or something to write on, it may be helpful in this session. And then if you can find an empty notebook, just make that your parts journal and maybe do this again and on a more regular basis. And I'll incorporate it here more too in our weekly lives. I try to do this each week, same time, which is 9 a.m. Central or US Chicago time here on YouTube. But let's just pause for a minute and check in and just notice your breath, your seat. What sensations do you notice as you arrive in this moment? And this is the first step of this process. So just pause and notice for a minute. And then check in and see if you can feel even just a small spark of self energy. And this is where those 8 C's that you hear me talk about come in. Do you sense any calm, a state of tranquility and peace, curiosity, an open minded and inquisitive stance toward yourself and others? Welcome so much, Sanctuary. Glad that you're here. We're just doing a simple parts check in that I do that may be helpful for you. And we started out by just pausing and arriving. And now just seeing step number 2, if we can access a little self energy, that calm, or that curiosity, an open minded and inquisitive stance toward yourself or others, compassion, empathy, and understanding toward your parts, confidence, a sense of assurance, self trust. And if some of these resonate, I just pause and notice, wow, notice any calm? And I get a sense, often there is calm there, or curiosity, compassion, confidence. And then I'll jot that down and keep a record of which ones of these C's are showing up. Or maybe it's courage, the ability to face fears and challenges. Welcome, Lynn. Creativity, the capacity for innovative and flexible thinking. Connectedness, a sense of belonging and relational awareness. Or clarity, clear perception and understanding of the experience that you're having. And so, step 1, just pause and arrive. And step 2, see if you can access some self energy. Then, step 3, check in with your parts and those that are showing up and ask, who's here? Just notice. And try not to think too much, just jot down what arises. Some parts may be close and eager, some may be keeping more distance. Then who wants or needs attention? What is this part that needs or wants attention, feeling or believing? And as you focus on a part that needs or wants attention, it's good to pause. How are you feeling toward it? See if you can extend a little more of that compassion, for example, or if there's a constrictedness, likely another part that's reacting to the part you're focusing on, and see if that part could soften back and remind it that all parts are welcome. And it's a good time there, if you have a journal, jot down that part that you asked to soften back. And if it's able to soften back, thank it, but jot it down and come back to it, maybe in your next session when you do this. Then turn back to the part that needs or wants attention that you're focusing on now in this parts check in. And what's that part feeling or believing? And just spend some time in dialogue with that part. What does it need from you or want to say? And then after you pause and arrive first, and then access a little self energy, then check in with your parts, which is what we've just done. Who's here? Who wants attention? What's this part feeling or believing? And what does it need from me? And then step 4, and if it'd be helpful to get these steps, send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com and I can send it to you. But step 4, set an intention. Ask, how do I want to move through the day? Is there one part I want to stay connected with or two with extra care? Let's just take a minute and set an intention. And then finally, thank your parts. It's the fifth step of this parts check in process. And offer a grounding breath or phrase. You're enough. You're beloved. You're not alone. And send a round of gratitude to all the parts that showed up. Thank those parts that were able to soften back and remind them that they can have some attention at another time too. And if you have a notepad, jot down the parts that are showing up, the part that you spent time with today. You'll begin to notice patterns. Then let's just take another breath together. When it feels right, you can bring your attention back to the present moment, bring some life to the body, and continue about your day, or your afternoon, evening. But that's an example of a simple parts check in, a 5 step process that I do. And again, if you joined late or you're watching a recording, and know that if you're watching live, you can go back and watch the recording of this too as soon as YouTube processes it. But if you would like these steps, you can also send me an email to tim@faithfullygrowing.com and I'll get them to you. But many times people ask me, how do I map my parts? And this is a simple process that I try to do on a regular basis that works for me. You're welcome. Yeah, thank you, Darlene. I'm sorry. I always call you Darlene, and I think you know now why I do, Lynn. But thank you, Lynn. And yeah, any questions or comments before we wrap up for today? But yeah, so grateful for this community. Reach out if I can be helpful. And you can find out more about me either at faithfullygrowing.com or exploreifs.com. And there you can find out more about the Faithfully Growing community where I do every other month. And Lynn, you'll be interested in this, but starting to get into a pattern of doing a parts mapping group 1 month and then alternating a workshop on the other months. And so, yeah, sanctuary. I would say just notice your anger and just take a minute. And is it okay to be with that? And notice too, you may have parts that get triggered when you hear me say that. But notice that. And then see where you're feeling your anger in or around your body. See if you could just check in and see how you're feeling toward that anger as you be with it and you notice it. And if you're feeling a little open heartedness, extend that to the anger and the parts that feel the anger. If not, there are other parts that are coming in that are reacting to that anger. See if they could just give a little space. Know there's an inner team here, that you're not alone. The anger is valid, and the parts that may be afraid of it are valid. And see if they could both just notice you. Yeah, but anger is welcome. Anger is not bad, and it's valid. And just see if you can take that with you. And thanks for your courage and chiming in and showing up. And with that, I'm going to chime off for now. Always reach out if I can be helpful, but so grateful for this community. Let's try to be kind to ourselves this week. We're in this together. And take care.